immediately reminded how much I enjoyed the score from the first movie. Plus, this opening piece sounds like it has muffled gunfire in it. Fun bait and switch. Alien invasion? Nah, weekend sports. Chekhov's, actually nope. Just nope. An almost 30-second wonder of Krasinski walking through a peaceful country town helps slow down the pace of the film before the insanity to come. Also, that is the correct reaction when you want to acknowledge people but not talk to them, and also when you see a good fluffy boy being good. They don't even need ASL to communicate non-verbally. He's late, but he brought the classic "tell me you're a sports parent without telling me" snacks. And it's further evidence of why this family survives as long as they do.
First time through the order? Third? What inning is this? Fifth.
It's kind of a bummer that Emmett and Lee don't get to pal around more, but it makes sense since they dabbed the heck out of those aliens as a team and there'd be no movie.
How do you say dive?
Dive? It's a tough one.
Dive shadowing. I would also accept Chekhov's sign language. Dogs know. I think it makes sense that everyone leaves in a fairly orderly fashion. The whatever that is pretty far off, and IRL most people don't assume the worst when they see something like that. Plus, they're about to get mollywopped by the aliens in a few minutes.
Lee.
This one is specific to me and only me, but do anyone else's cortisol levels spike when pretty actors say your name? Dogs always know. And a second wonder that starts as the reverse of the first one, Lee heading back to the truck. But the build-up to the alien hitting the car is so killer. We know something's gonna happen, and when it does, Lee doesn't think. He just bolts back to his daughter in that sweet truck. Another realistic thing is that a handful of people might know something, and that's why they're taken off with haste. Love that it attacks the cop car first, since it's the loudest thing in the area with the radio static. The aliens haven't quite figured out what's going on yet. Excellent dad moment and excellent sound design drop moment, but with Lee's reactions to sound still there. And yet another insane wonder. The moment the bus starts coming at them and Evelyn slams it into reverse, being in the back seat for this one really ups the panic, but the highlight is the arm coming out of the front of the bus. You almost missed it at first. Also, obviously, they've truly figured out how to make the sound count again. Reagan's almost cut off until Lee grabs her as the sound kicks back in for us, almost like we can take a breath. Also, this kill goes by quick, but something that's extra terrifying is their ridiculous reach. She was past the car before it landed on the car when she got swiped down. I mean, seriously, bro. God can hear you in your own head. If that's not chittering, I just don't even know what is. Although, like Dune Part 2, they don't actually want to eat you. My theories are falling apart. Self-sacrifice. Was it intentional? Probably not. But it still saved the family. Killer shot and simple explanation for why they have to leave. Putting a fire out isn't exactly a silent task. Also the shotgun blasts. Cute baby. I really hate that they're spending time showing us Evelyn getting the tank, because I really don't want that to be important in a Chekhov kind of way, and really know my feelings don't matter in this matter. Yeah, this score still crushes my soul, especially since the last time we heard it was this. Some great show don't tell. We know this is the furthest they've ever gone. This might seem like an obvious trip line, but the fence wires are great misdirection and distraction. I haven't really paid attention to any of the nitpicky nonsense about this one, but I almost guarantee someone said during this scene, "Why run? You have the ultimate weapon, just have Reagan set up her amp and cock your shotgun." First, you rack a pump action shotgun, you don't cock it, idiot. Second, no, risk aversion is still the name of the game. Killing aliens is still less preferable to just avoiding them. Best case, you're using up a shell and making a really loud noise. Worst case, Evelyn misses, or the amp doesn't work, or there are more aliens than you can handle. The sound of the bottles is the loudest thing in the area, so you want to get away from that ASAP. But also nope, never run. And also brutal, truly horrific. It's a level of awful I wasn't fully prepared for in this movie. It's a great movie for the story, but dang, it's hard to watch. But also super stoked that their tactic still works. Badass mom and daughter team. We don't even see Emmett pick up Marcus. He's just already running with him over his strong, dreamy shoulder. Nope, that's a nope. The upside down crawl is incredibly unnerving. Chekhov's lock, stop, towel.
How do you know he traveled up?
Look, she was married to this dreamy guy, but there's no way she didn't immediately recognize these baby blues the second she saw them. I know this is supposed to be the emotional clincher for Emmett, but lots of people would have the opposite conclusion. Goes to show that she does really know him. Chekhov's O2 timer. Man, there are a lot of Chekhov's items in this movie. Truly, it's all just amazing show don't tell. No one says anything about the towel or the timer, but we know what they mean.
There's 3 feet of concrete. Has to be right above us to hear.
I love her involuntary nervousness because her entire life has been primarily speech-free for almost a year and a half. It's just a visceral reaction to sound. Kind of reminds me of this.
It's been a long time since I had so much of the English language spoke at me.
How loud as long as it could in the house. It was when she started screaming.
It's the little pained and nervous laugh that does it. He's probably never had to say that aloud before, and the words sound like a made-up story even to him.
The same song's been playing over and over the last 4 months.
I think these reactions from Regan might be confusing unless you remember that it's likely been less than 24 hours since her dad sacrificed his life for her.
I want you gone tomorrow.
Obviously that feels pretty harsh, but let's step into Emmett's shoes for a second. He's lost everything and everyone, home and family. Now a cacophony of postpartum, newborn, deaf, and bear trap magnet have crashed into his life, immediately being mad at him for not being their dad. Yeah, he's gonna be grumpy, but it sets up his arc and makes the payoff all the more satisfying. Again, sometimes a movie has kids do absurd stuff 'cause kids. But we're clearly watching a dysregulated, grieving young girl who has guilt over her youngest brother's death, guilt over her father's death, and is likely still in shock. So the whole "I need to save everyone and by doing that I'll put everyone in danger" thing is frustrating, but totally makes sense for what she's going through. Yes, Claire Dearing proved that she can run in heels, but I still like the realistic touch that the average commuter is leaving their pumps behind before booking it. Screw you, crows! Well, that's a shot. Honestly, kind of feel sorry for the aliens. Trains are hella loud and big, and they were probably stoked when they found them the first time, only to realize they're not delicious at all. Screw you, corpse! Although all these decomposing bodies are a good reminder that the aliens don't seem to eat humans, they just kind of mess them up bad. Another sick and perfect sound design switch. Saving that girl who accused you of not being her dad. This is a little in the weeds, but I love this moment because Regan is 17, legally a minor, and because of her life experience, she's the one that keeps it together and stays calm when the adult is melting down, even helping him settle down. If that isn't a perfect microcosm of many people living with disabilities. Not only are they constantly forced to be the mature person in the room, they often have to do it without a second thought because it's their life and survival. I'm just gonna say I hope this isn't ableist because I'm not sure. No group is a monolith. It's just something I've noticed in the world. The lip quiver. Cillian Murphy is always a win. That's a cute baby. In a life of terrifying moments, this has gotta be up there for Regan. Emmett never met J. Walter Weatherman, that's for sure. Hardest of all sighs. Millicent sells the relief amazingly. The flip side of that, kids are often the mature ones when they have disabilities diatribe I just gave are the parents of kids with disabilities. Those mofos are frequently superheroes at regulating themselves and imparting that calm to their other kids. Also knowing what their kids can handle. I read a complaint recently about how part 1 was trying to reinforce gender roles by having Lee bring Marcus to the waterfall to fish when he was scared and Regan wanted to go, but Lee made her stay with her mom. That wasn't a gender thing. That was number 1, an age thing, but primarily a competency thing. Marcus needed to learn to survive, and Lee knew without a shadow of a doubt that his eldest child, Regan, could already handle herself. If Evelyn and Lee died at that moment, all the responsibility was gonna fall on Regan and Marcus would be no help. That's what that was about. If I have to complain about one thing in this movie, it's the Abbotts' constantly bloody feet. Yes, many cultures around the world to this day don't wear shoes, but Regan's feet are always bleeding, which is a big no-no in survival situations. I assume it just adds to the tension, but after almost a year and a half of walking around barefoot, you'd like to think they'd build some calluses up. And then we have Emmett, whose plan seems to be stay inside with a rifle and scope, just walking around with loud boots. But he's also spent more time in the outside world, so he probably knows how much foot noise is acceptable. Just another example of what levels of risk mitigation people are willing to undertake and what the trade-off is. My son, for instance, doesn't understand the concept of tiptoeing, and it somehow ends up being louder when his sister is napping, so we'd all be barefoot and bloody as well. Have I mentioned that I hate you, Jim? Oof. Gorgeous. R.I.P. Radio Shack. If it wasn't aliens, it would have been... What? No way. Have you seen a Radio Shack lately? No, my experiences are reality. Electricity is the first hint to us to start freaking. Oh, and also the score. This is one of the more interesting apocalypses because no one that survived is filling up their bags with a bunch of jingly pills and supplies just cuz. You're taking only what you absolutely need, which creates a better chance for everyone else as a byproduct. Nah, no thank you. Honestly, a port like this would be an awesome spot to set up. The constant and unpredictable random sounds would definitely become like white noise to the aliens. So creepy. What's the word for, I know it's not a zombie movie, but all of a sudden I'm afraid she's a zombie? What is that? It's like insanity? I thought so. Oh, dang, no, I forgot her face. She kinda is a zombie? But there it is, this is what Emma was talking about. The Abbotts haven't seen people be truly awful yet. Well, to be fair, Emmett didn't know he was gonna have visitors. Why would you do this, Chekhov? For a good-looking dude, I respect that Scoot McNairy keeps playing roles where he looks messed up. Nah. Slick little dolly zoom as she approaches the hole. Solid mom self-sacrifice. She gets away, but badass good mom. All right, Chekhov, you went and redeemed yourself. Okay, first, that was a crappy-ass dive, Regan. Get it together. Second, how about these parallel edge-of-your-seat stories? The cuts back and forth are timed so well, the loud sounds in each and then the fire in each. Two people doing insane things to save someone else. And the Emmett moment goes by a little quick, but they're not watching him because they assume he won't move unless he has a death wish because he has all the noisemakers on him. He just calls their bluff since he ain't got much to lose. That is unfortunate. I'm sorry, but this is just an absolute badass move. So far, Emmett has been just some guy, but that move is next level action hero movie stuff. Huzzah, I say, huzzah. Just be thankful he doesn't have any of that Darefleck echolocation. And then everyone starts breathing again at the same time. I have to imagine this is both an amazing moment and super frustrating one, especially given that Evelyn would have told Regan they could swim, but clearly only in a few feet of water. But you're like, oh my goodness, they can't swim! Followed by, wait, we could have all made it if we just jumped in the pool? Honestly, the most impressive part of his big hero moment. Ingenuity. Oh geez, it's right there. None of us should be surprised. Dope transition to make Edgar proud. What a brain explosion this would be. All of a sudden you can just be a normal person again? But look, if Apocalypse Media has taught me anything, it's that you definitely can't trust pretty quaint towns. They're definitely eating people or feeding people to death angels chained in the basement or like using Miracle Whip or something. It's always something.
Been a long time.
How long?
That day.
If only they made a movie about that day so we could see other perspectives.
They had 12 boats lined up on the dock that day. Only 2 got out.
There's part of me that thinks, nah, the no swimming thing is a plot hole. The Navy could have lured them out into the water with sound and they'd all drown, but yeah, no, that sounds more realistic.
He said he'll do it. Yes, he said yes.
And another nice realistic moment. People can take a while to remember each other's needs.
And you were right. I'm nothing like him. You are.
He couldn't even know what that would mean to her, but also, dads know. I can't actually allow my brain to fully go there, but I also understand why Emmett would have shut himself off. What he's feeling has to be a mixture of joy to finally help a child again, something he'd lost the ability to do, and also pure pain and torture because he lost the ability to do it, compounded even more by knowing Lee got a chance to die for his kids. The alien just coming out of nowhere is such a cool and scary moment. Julia and I both sighed hard at the start of this. He yells at first, but now Emmett isn't screaming at all, so compared to everyone else who isn't used to aliens and is freaking out, he's almost silent and not really getting noticed by the alien. Hell yeah, I mean no, sorry, doing cool stuff? I get confused. Jaimon, we hardly knew ye. Someone had some fun in this station. Phone feed. Or maybe that's like a classic jockey thing. I'm into it either way. Clever girl. Dang it, that one works. Look, Emmett did the right thing, and I applaud him for it, but Regan can't have another person die because of her. Just don't do it to her, John. Oh sure, when your son gets his foot caught in a bear trap, he needs to be quiet, but you get scraped and it's okay to scream? Double standard much? I mean, honestly, it's gotta feel good to just let it out after giving birth in mostly silence, because at this point, Again, our parallel stories, this time with both kids stepping up. Right in sync too, you can hear the gunshot as she connects with the bar. The parents saved their gooses in the first movie, so it's a nice arc to have them both be able to save the day, and also kill an alien. And some great final sound design, again blending the score with the feedback. I think A Quiet Place Part 1 excelled with mass appeal because of how well they executed atmosphere. I personally thought the story was moving as well, the performances were great, and even the creature design was top-notch. But audiences take most of the latter for granted at this point. Par for a thriller horror like this is that it's unnoticeable, meaning that you don't think twice about the aliens or have your suspension of disbelief shattered for a second because some kids aren't emoting. For the record, I think these kids were instructed to be in shock, and they do that really well. I'm not coming for them. But obviously there were 9 million think pieces on the plot holes in the first movie, and I'm sure there are 4.5 million more for the sequel. The reason that most of the audience doesn't think about any of that is because the atmosphere and tone and vibes, man, the vibes were perfect. I'm a guy who always goes beyond the vibes because it's fun and also my job, but I don't think it's needed to enjoy this movie. Tenet is a perfect example of that. I think I even said in that video that I didn't have it all sorted out when I left the theater after the first viewing, but Nolan sold me an emotion and I bought it. I understand that not everyone can or will do that, and a director's ability to convince you to purchase vary from person to person, director to director, even movie to movie. All that to say, I think John Krasinski is an excellent salesman so far. You might even say John Krasinski is always a win. Look at that, John, you got it for directing this time, not acting. I could nitpick this movie to death, as we could do for any movie, as I've said before. Wait, where are your people gonna go? Isn't she leading them? But that's brain rot, and was never the intention when we started putting moving pictures on the wall. I'm not saying it's not fun, just don't make it your whole personality. My point here isn't that John can't tell a coherent story, much the opposite. I think both Part 1 and Part 2 are solid, cogent stories with amazing performances. But without nailing the look, the pace, the feel, the sound, the score, the vibes, it wouldn't matter. I love the vibes in this universe, and not just the ooh, creepy monsters and slow camera moves vibes, though I do love those as well, the love vibes. The human struggles that break us down, that shatter our walls we've put up to protect us from an unforgiving world. Like I said earlier, my brain won't go to that place where my kids were lost to an alien invasion, thankfully. So I have no clue who I'd be in Emmett's shoes, but seeing his transformation from despair to hope will always move me. From ready to throw a baby out on its butt to throwing his own butt in between certain death and a girl he met yesterday. These are the kinds of human stories that remind me that there is hope for us, like as a species. Because make no mistake, we ain't got aliens, but it's easy to forget just how fragile it all is. Apocalypse movies often make a point of saying, if we give up our humanity to survive, what's the point? This movie answers that question in the best possible way, and I'm excited to see more. Next week, something a little more lighthearted.
You're persistent.